G'day guys, MFWest here, and today I have a very different type of video for you, and that is why I think you should play Unholy, DK, and Dragonflight. Now, I'm going to try and summarize all my reasoning and just feelings as to why I think you should play in this video, and the way I'm going to do it is pretty much split it up into a few segments. This video, again, is for all kinds of players, so if you've never played DK before, I'm going to explain some of the basics and fundamentals as to why I think it's a good playstyle and something that you might be interested in. For someone that's played it maybe once or twice in previous expansions or once or twice even now, again, I've got you. And even for advanced players, I will go into a little bit of detail for you guys as to why I think, Deathknight Unholy specifically has all the tools for you to succeed in whatever content you want to do, whether it be Mythic Plus or Arena. Okay, now before I get into that information, I just want to kind of explain for those of you that are brand new to the channel, who am I? So, I am MFWest. I'm an Aussie. I've been making YouTube videos since about WoD Legion. I am a Unholy one-trick, and if you go through my channel, all my content is pretty much Unholy DK. I love the spec, I love the theme of it, I love DK as well, but I'm an Unholy DK through and through. In terms of my skill level, I've pretty much been a cutting edge raider since the start of BFA. I started getting to Mythic and Legion. Since BFA, I've pretty much been consistently getting like top 50 Unholy, a top 50 Unholy DK world. In recent tiers as well, this tier as well, I've been able to get like top 10 and top 20. So I consider myself a high-end Mythic raider in that aspect. I understand the spec at a very high level, and that is the kind of content that I give to you guys in terms of my expertise, showing you how I think you should go about certain boss fights. Mythic Plus, Arena I've been glad before, Gladiator will be a thing that I want to achieve again in Dragonflight. But yeah, that's pretty much my background in terms of Deathknight and skill level. I've recently actually just had a baby girl as well in real life, so kind of been balancing YouTube and World of Warcraft in that sense as well, so that's been quite a challenge. But Dragonflight I am super pumped for, and I'm going to be focusing on getting content out for you guys. So yeah, give the channel a subscribe if you're interested in this kind of content. I have all of it covered, and will hopefully be way more on the horizon. Alright, so that's the intro, that's me explaining that. Now, I'm going to pretty much kind of split this video here and give you guys a path. For those of you that are brand new to Deathknight, have no idea what Deathknight is, I would recommend staying on right here. For those of you that have more of a basic understanding and potentially an advanced understanding of Unholy or DK in general, I would recommend heading over to minute 9:04 to have a look at that advanced level and explanation. Thanks guys. Alright, for those of you that have stayed on, this is going to be a basic explanation of how Unholy works fundamentally. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I think there are plenty of like wowhead guides and potentially other videos on YouTube that will go into it, but I just want to kind of give you an understanding of what Unholy is like in terms of that. Now in the background I do have Limit Max doing a key in Dragonflight as Unholy, so shout out to Max for that footage. But yeah, pretty much I'm just gonna put that in the background so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So Unholy was remade basically in Legion, and it adopted a new playstyle. So Unholy's theme, its thematic, is like diseases, okay, and summoning undead pets. So what they did is they gave us a combo point like system for wound generation. So we put wounds on a target and we pop them. It's like people call it like a pimple popping spec. Along popping pimples, we also apply diseases, which is our virulent plague debuff, and then we manage our pets. Okay, so Unholy is a pet focused class. We have a main ghoul, similar to a Beastmaster Hunter who has a main pet companion. We have a main ghoul. That ghoul has abilities that we can control, and that ghoul can get empowered and do more damage. Okay, so those are the three sources of damage: wounds, diseases, and pets. Now that is how Blizzard have reclassified Unholy DK since Legion. And to be honest, it's an okay playstyle. The combo points can feel clunky at times, but they've made significant improvements through gameplay and talents that have improved the playstyle. And honestly, I'm okay with it right now. If you guys like that kind of system of combo points, then I think you would like this system. But don't think of it like combo points. Wounds can be put on multiple targets, and the idea is to pop that amount of wounds on all those targets as well. Okay, so it's not exactly combo points, but think of it like there's 6 wounds you can put on the target, and you obviously want to pop all those 6 wounds. Okay. Um, it is such a well-designed spec in the way the cooldowns mesh with the abilities, and the whole theme of the spec is really, really good. Like they've really captured Unholy DK very well, in my opinion. And every expansion, that strengthening of the theme just gets even better and better. Okay, so what they've done here in Dragonflight is they've taken some of the core principles of what a Death Knight is and merged them all into one talent tree. They've done it for other specs as well, but Unholy specifically is really, really good. They've got 3 significant kind of like play styles that you can choose to play. There's a disease focused build that you can play. There's a pet focused build where you can just have a mass amount of pets, and each one does varying levels of damage and AoE and single target damage. And there's like a wound focused build, which looks to be the strongest build for Mythic Plus, if that's kind of up your alley. So we have 3 specs that we can choose from, which is really, really good. And Unholy in general, if you're a raider, a heroic raider or a mythic raider, we do bring quite a lot of execute damage. I believe we are probably one of the strongest execute classes in the game due to some additional talents that have increased our execute ability. Okay, so really, really good in that department. We bring grip to raid, we bring AMZ. We don't bring a raid buff per se, but we bring a lot of additional kind of utility. And Death Grip is something that is always wanted and needed in fights. So if you're thinking about, oh, should I play Death Knight? They haven't got any raid buffs. Don't worry, you bring damage, you bring a Brez, you bring utility. It's and a lot of damage. You bring a lot of damage. So yeah, that is pretty much, guys, like my high level overview of the spec in a PvE sense. For those of you that are PvPers, Unholy DK has always been quite a strong class at any point in an expansion. We always have stronger seasons. Like in Shadowlands, we had strong and weak seasons, but Death Knight in general is a very strong melee class. You've got multiple edits to interrupt people. Death Grip is quite obnoxious. You're an anti-custom melee, which is very, very good. And paired up with some classes in 3s, such as Warrior, TSG, or Heroic Cleave with the Demon Hunter, we have some of the strongest melee cleaves in the game. Okay, and Unholy is going to just be even stronger with the iteration of talents they've introduced for Dragonflight for PvP, and on multiple rank 1 streamers have placed it quite high off the initial bat, and just with the builds itself and the way it plays, I do think Unholy is going to be a strong A or S tier melee in Dragonflight. So I do want to cover PvP in a whole different video, but to summarize, I think Unholy is a very strong PvP spec. With the ability to kind of like reduce the effectiveness of healing, which is what it's been known for via Necrotic Strike. That's now changed to Necrotic Wounds, which works a little bit differently, but the idea is I'm going to rot your team and you're going to struggle to heal and go That's kind of the idea that goes on with Unholy, which a lot of people like. Okay. So yeah, that is pretty much a summary, guys, at a basic level. For those of you that are interested in Unholy. If you want to continue watching, I'm going to go into the advanced kind of gameplay as to why I might speak to about specific talents in the tree, and just for those of the viewers that have been playing Death Knight for a while and want to see like why should I play it now? Like what's the reason? So I'm going to go into that really quickly. Let's go. Alrighty, if you've clicked this part of the video, then you've played Death Knight or you're a Mythic Raider, you have advanced level understanding of the spec, and I just want to speak to you man to man as to why I think Unholy is looking fucking good in Dragonflight. Okay, so let's think back. BFA, we saw one of our most successful seasons via our ridiculous amount of exponential damage via bursting swords. We were seeing millions and millions of damage because of that unlimited target cap. Fast forward, Shadowlands, end of Shadowlands, they've put target caps on almost everything, including now Epidemic as well. Everything is target capped. That doesn't change the fact that Unholy and Dragonflight will have one of the highest AoE damage profiles in the game, okay? And that is due to a number of things that I've gone actually over in my most recent video, part of this one, and it's this wound build that has pretty much been adopted from BFA, okay? So bursting swords is one of the key factors. Vile Contagion gives us the ability to transfer wounds from one target to 7 other targets, okay? And Festamite's back. So the holy trinity that made us so strong in BFA is back, along with better wound, better ways to pop wounds, better single target damage, better execute damage. The spec is looking really, really good, guys. So that's I think the wound popping build, I'm going to call it, is going to be our go-to for Mythic Plus. For the dungeons that have less target counts, or just like less bigger pools in general, we have a disease focused build that we can go that will probably shine better on 3 to 4 target cleaves and provide more consistent damage maybe on tyrannical weeks. But for the most part, this insane AoE damage that there are multiple clips of streamers doing on beta is very, very strong. Okay, so Mythic Plus, I'm going to give a tick for Unholy. By all means, it is looking so strong. I'm going to talk about Raid now. Raid, we're going to have a mixture of playing some of our capstone talents that we're going to be using for Raid will probably most likely be Unholy Assault, which now actually gives us a 20% haste buff when we press it, which is really nice, a good upgrade, and Commander of the Dead. So when you empower your ghoul, it's going to increase your Gargoyle and Army of the Dead damage by 35%. Huge single target damage within this capstone talent. On the Death tree, we're going to be taking Soul Reaper for Raid, as well as most likely Empowered Rune Weapon, but this could change for fights that we do need Slappy Hands. So again, 2 very strong additions to our talent tree. Now in Raid, we don't bring a Raid buff, so we need to actually either have a high damage profile or the Raid needs our utility. Good thing is, I think Unholy will be one of the stronger DPS, at least melee DPS profiles for prog, due to our really strong single target damage in that we have Gargoyle back and we are an execute class. Now, when I say execute class, our execute got better over from Shadowlands to now, and that is due to a talent called Reaping. Your Soul Reaper, Scourge Strike, Festering Strike, and Death Coil deal 20% additional damage to enemies below 35% HP. Very, very strong for progression rating on a heroic or mythic level. Bosses are going to be living longer, which means we're going to be sitting in execute phase for a longer period of time. Okay, we have a lot of our damage is baked into Death Coil now. Death Coil hits a lot harder, does more things for us. I won't go into incredible amounts of detail, but let's just say some of the talents surrounding Death Coil here are the reasons as to why it's so strong. We also have the ability to cleave Death Coil onto multiple targets, which introduces something that Unholy hasn't been very good at, and Frost always outshines us, and that is cleave damage. We have now the ability to cleave because Death Coil can actually shoot off the 2 targets. So our cleave got better, which is very good. But I still think, if I'm going to be honest with you, Frost will do a better job at the cleave fights. But Unholy brings that execute and priority damage through Gargoyle and Army of the Dead. Okay, so the talent tree is a huge success for DK. Unholy, I'm so happy with it. They've done a very good job with encompassing some of the key elements that makes Unholy what it is. And I just wanted to go through what I think some of the highlights of the Unholy talent tree are, and some of the synergies that will happen across on the Death Knight tree. Okay, so I might have talked about a few of them, but I'll quickly go through some of the ones that I think are really, really important and good new additions to the spec. Playbringer is a very strong talent that will see us utilize the disease build in a much stronger way. So whenever you Scourge Strike, your disease damage actually occurs 100% more quickly for 5 seconds. So you're basically going to want to be, this is that level of detail, you're going to want to be Scourge Striking every 5 seconds to ensure that Plaguebringer is actually active and making your dots tick faster. So a slight change in playstyle there, which is very nice. We see Magus actually converted into the talent tree. Now, Magus is something that is going to scale very, very well with haste as the expansion goes along. And I think on in raid we will probably see ourselves picking this up. Does tremendous amounts of damage. I just love like the thematic side of things with all these like, Magus of the Undead just casting their frost bolts. It's really awesome. Yeah, frost bolts and shadow bolts. But yeah, a very awesome talent in itself. Next thing that I want to talk about is improved death coil. So I've already mentioned it, but death coil seeks an additional nearby enemy and deals 30% additional damage. Death coil is going to be one of our highest DPS abilities, that just due to the nature of how many things are buffing death coil in the tree, but this is a substantial one. As well, one other thing to mention, Vile Contagion, a huge addition to Unholy's ability to do AoE damage. So every 1.5 minutes, we're going to do tremendous amounts of damage. With this coupled with Bursting Swords and Festamite. Mentioning Festamite as well, guys. Festamite is back, but unfortunately it's been capped at 20% strength. You're going to have to make sure that you play around your Festamite windows, especially when you're overlapping CDs. So you're going to make sure that when you pop your CDs, your Festamite is reaching its pinnacle to get the most amount of damage out of there. Okay, very big one. Ghoulish Frenzy, a legendary that we used to have called Frenzied Monstrosity, that is now going to be a actual talent in our tree. Pretty strong addition to the Unholy tree. Super Strain as well, another legendary that has been converted into the tree. Again, this just makes our disease, this is what sets up the disease build and makes it so effective. So we have 3 diseases on targets, excluding Unholy Blight. So a lot of disease going on there, guys. A lot. Combined with morbidity, you just like there's definitely ways for us to set up disease damage. And now Blizzard have in the palm of their hands a very interesting way, like an interesting way to implement tier sets, because like they can go down the path of like pet damage in tier sets, or they can go down the path of disease damage. Like they really can be very smart about how they make their tier sets. So I'm hoping that they do that. And something I'm not going to miss out on speaking about is reaping. So this just makes our execute damage that much better. On prog and in the world race, you're going to see Unholy Death Knights brought to bosses because of their execute damage. Like your core rotation, all of it does 20% additional damage when mobs or all the bosses are below 35% HP. That's massive. That includes Death Coil, which is our main source of damage. So huge implications there. Yeah, just awesome. And Commander of the Dead is just a huge boost to our single target damage, and it's going to be a must take. I mentioned it before, but Unholy Frenzy as well. It was also a change to it was made where you get 20% additional haste, which is really good. In this talent tree, guys, I'm just going to mention a few things. Will and Necropolis just makes us that much tankier and increases our survivability. So again, an addition for Unholy and Raid for prog, we can like survive a lot better below 30% HP. For PvP, this is a very strong pickup. So when we're low, maybe trying to survive those last few seconds of a kidney shot, we're going to be that much harder to kill, which is very awesome. We now have the ability to grab Blinding Sleet, which was a Frost DK specific talent, coupled with Asphyxiate and Silence. For example, we are an extremely utility built machine, guys. Very awesome. Empowered Weapon also is available in the talent tree, which is again another Frost DK ability that is now accessible to all specs. This just coupled the haste. Haste is amazing for Unholy. Having access to more globals and just more haste inside our cooldowns is amazing. So no complaints there. A solid additional 2-minute cooldown added on. And then I think one of my favorite, I'm not even joking, my favorite addition to the DK tree is Death's Echo. So we get 2 charges on Death Grip, Death's Advance, Death and Decay. Like that is amazing. A quality of life thing, but trust me, having 2 Death's Advances for boss fights when mobility is required or immunity to pushbacks and whatnot is required is a huge deal. It's a massive deal. So That's definitely a big thing for me. Those are the main things I wanted to highlight there, guys. And to summarize, honestly, it's a tick in the box for me for M plus and for raid. Now, PvP, to summarize, unfortunately, I haven't gotten access to too much PvP on beta itself, but I've been watching a lot of rank 1 streamers and just people in the PvP community, and a pretty big kind of opinion is that where a lot of people are ranking Unholy is quite high, and I'm talking like A or S tier in terms of arena. So we gain defensives, we gain damage, we gain more cooldowns that are really strong in arena. We have better survivability, more utility, which is what people are scared of with DK. The amount of control you have as a Death Knight is incredible. Getting all those additional tools puts Unholy in a much better spot going into this season. I think we're going to be a much stronger melee class than we were in Shadowlands. And I think we're going to be, some of the melee comps that you're going to see, like TSG, Heroic Cleave, even with the Demo Lock, are going to be our best comps. Our damage is going to be insane. We have a bomb limb again, and that's not going away, so I think people should be very, very scared. And as health pools rise, so does our effectiveness with necrotic wounds and reducing healing effects, longer games, dampening, higher health pools. The ability for us to execute as well is available via reaping in the talent tree. Like, there's many different ways that we have to win games, guys, and I cannot wait to explore those ideas with you. But let's move on to kind of summarizing my thoughts as to why I think Unholy is the play for Dragonflight. Let's go. Alright, guys, to summarize, to come to a conclusion, I do think that Death Knight, Unholy specifically, is a spec that you should seriously take a look at if you have played or are interested in Death Knight. It is possibly one of the funnest specs that I've played in World of Warcraft, maybe a little bit biased, but it has all the tools in Dragonflight to actually be a very fun and a kind of like a very well-rounded spec in all forms of the game. It has a high, one of the things I want to emphasize here, for those of you that are just playing at a basic level, it can be, it will still do good damage if you have a basic understanding of the spec. If you have a high level of this understanding of the spec and want to kind of push it to its highest ceiling, and you're interested in how high that skill cap is, it's very high. There are a lot of different things that you actually have to watch in terms of like Festamite management, resource management, pet, micro. There is so much min-maxing that you can do within the spec, and I can vouch for this because I've played it for so long. Like pet control management is something that people, I think like 90%, or even more, like only a small amount of DKs are actually going to effectively micro their pet in combat and in raid environments and whatnot. And that kind of level of understanding of your pet is something that can increase your damage by multitudes. So it's a spec that is welcome, is very friendly for everyone to play. But if you're serious and want to invest some time into, you're definitely going to reap the rewards for that level of dedication. I can vouch for that. So I'm going to try and wrap up the video, guys, here. So I've kind of gone over it at a basic and an advanced level as to why I think you should play it. Some of the things that are going to be looking very strong. And I'm going to pretty much be posting a lot of content as the expansion releases in 2-3 days. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be the end of the video. Please follow me on my socials at MFWestWow on Facebook and Twitter. I'm going to try my best to respond to you guys in the comments down below. But thank you very much for clicking on this video, and I hope that you can subscribe and stay on for the journey. Thanks, guys. Stay unholy. Peace.